Welcome back, third grade. So today we're going to be talking about Van Gogh's Starry Night. I know you've all seen it and you've all heard of it. So this painting was painted by a man named Vincent van Gogh. He was a Dutch painter and he lived in France. And so Starry Night was Van Gogh's view from what we call an asylum or a mental hospital. And what's really fascinating about this painting is that you can see Venus in it. Van Gogh painted Venus, the planet, without realizing it. So I believe it's the really bright star, kind of in the middle, lower part of the painting. And that is actually Venus, the planet, that you can see from Earth. Isn't that fascinating? So Van Gogh was what we call a post-impressionist. What is a post-impressionist? Well, post means after, and Impressionism was the era that occurred before Post-Impressionists, right? So the Impressionists were artists like Monet, Degas, and Renoir. Those are just a few Impressionist artists. There are a bunch, but the first one, Monet, is actually the one that started the whole movement. So Impressionism was about capturing the color and the light change that happens every split second in nature and trying to capture it as quick as you can. So it looked a little bit fuzzy, it looked a little bit blurry, and Monet's piece Sunrise was just that. It was an impression of a sunrise. What is an impression? An impression is kind of the feeling that you get from something. So it's the feeling and what he thought represented the color and the light changing so quickly and rapidly, right? What's interesting is that Monet actually has 10 different paintings of the same place. That's a lot of paintings of the same place, right? Now, why would he have so many paintings of the same place? So Monet painted the same place 10 different times in the day or the year. So he painted it in the morning, in the evening, in the winter, in the summer, okay? So all of these pictures all look insanely different from each other, even though it is the same place. So that is because of the change in color and light and just the change in the air and everything that was going on, everything changed. So that one place doesn't look the same on any given day. It will always look different. And that was kind of the point of Impressionism. So Van Gogh is what we call a post-impressionist, and these are the artists that were painting after Impressionism began. So post-impressionism was a little bit more about the way you felt about something and about capturing the light, and we can see that in Van Gogh's Starry Night. And in this painting you can see that obviously the sky would never look like that, right? But this is also how he felt about it. It was a very intoxicating, very exciting and vibrant view outside of his window. And you can see that very clearly in this painting. So what we're going to do today is we are going to do a Starry Night picture puzzle. And it looks something like this. And it's on Google Classroom for you. You don't have to print it out if you cannot print it out. If you can, go ahead, that's perfect. If you cannot, I'm going to show you how to draw it in your sketchbook without printing it out and making it look exactly like the grid on the paper. So here's your instructions before I tell you how to duplicate it. Here's kind of how we're going to do it. So on the top of the Starry Night picture, inside of each grid, it's all jumbled up. Inside of each box there's a letter and a number, and those coordinate with the letter and the number on the left and the top of the grid below. So what you're going to do is, let's say I have a grid piece that says A4, okay? A4 is, so A4 will go on the top, you find the letter A, right? And then you're going to come down within that column where A is and find the number 4, and that is where you'll draw A4. So let's say I have C3. So you'll find A, B, C, come down 1, 2, 3. C3 is right there, okay? So that's how we're going to draw the pieces and put them on the bottom. That's how we're going to take the pieces, put them on the bottom. We are not cutting. Nobody should be cutting this picture. You are drawing what you see, and a few of them will look like they don't fit together, but in the end, you'll see that they do, okay? So you're going to draw what you see, and you're going to find each of the coordinates, so what we call them, the letter and the number. And you'll find each of those where they belong on the bottom, and you'll draw in whatever's inside of that square, okay? So if you don't have a printer at home or you can't print it, this is how you're going to duplicate it in your sketchbook. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to get your ruler out, and you should have a ruler. If you do not have a ruler, what I want you to do is use your fingers. An inch is from the top of my thumbnail to the crease in the middle. You see that? That's about an inch. Now if yours is shorter than mine, I would use your index finger, okay? But on my thumb, the top of my thumbnail to the crease right there, those lines on your thumb, that's about an inch, okay? So you need a straight edge regardless. So what I would do is I would take out a piece of paper from somewhere else and use that as a straight edge if you don't have a ruler. If you have access to a ruler, you absolutely need to be using one. So what I'm going to do is first, I'm going to use my ruler to measure out 7 inches this way, horizontally. Now it looks sideways on this screen, but it's not sideways, I promise you. I'm going to draw it straight, 7 inches, and that's where the big 7 is, right there. That big 7. And then, I'm going to use it again on the sides to measure 5 inches. So you're going to start with that first tick mark right there, that long one, and that's going to measure up with the line that you just drew. And I'm going to start there. I'm going to come down 5 inches, like that. So I'm going to measure 7 inches again. Again, it's the beginning of your tick mark, lining up with that line that you just drew. 7 inches. And now I'm going to connect them. Let's make sure it's straight. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure inch by inch. So I'm going to draw a line along the top line right here, every inch that I see on the ruler. So every inch is every number that you see. So I'm going to draw a line here at the 1. I'll draw a line at the 2, the 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines drawn on top. I'm going to do the same on the bottom. This is important. Pay attention, please. When you draw your bottom tick marks, you're just going to slide the ruler down, okay? Line up your outside tick mark with the line right here. And I'm going to draw my tick marks on top of that line again. So at 1, at number 2, at 3, 4, 5, and at 6. So we're going to do the same thing going this way, but we're only going to draw 5 tick marks, right? Because it's only 5 inches. So we're going to draw it at every single number again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're just going to push the ruler up to this side. And we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're going to connect all of our lines. And if you are behind, I want you to pause and go back and see if you need further instruction. You can pause and slow down if you would like. This video is made for you to pause and adjust to however you need it to be taught. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go horizontally first. I'm going to line up my ruler with both lines. You see that? And then I'll draw a line like that. Do that again. Another line. One more line. And our last line. And then we'll flip it. And we'll do the same thing over again. for this side. And if your lines don't perfectly line up, don't draw them crooked. Don't draw them this way. Draw them as straight as you can. If you can see here, I have a gap between here. I followed one line and I let the other one just kind of not line up. So don't try to force them to line up if they don't line up. It's okay. They don't absolutely have to. They just need to be close together or close-ish. These are close enough. Okay, so now what I've done is I have drawn this grid onto my sketchbook. So what I can do is I can pull this up on my computer and I can look at it now. And next you're going to label the top grid with your letters and the side of it with your numbers. So on the top I'm going to write A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And if I don't have space on this side, I can definitely use this side instead, the right side instead. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now you have the grid in your sketchbook for the Starry Night picture puzzle. And let me show you an example of what I mean by the coordinates. So here we have B4. You guys see that? It says B4. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to find B. I found B. I'm going to find number 4. Found 4, and I'm going to bring them together, come down until my fingers touch. That right there is B4. And so I'll draw what I see. I'm going to fold this so we can look at it while we draw. I'm going to draw what I see right here on B4. It's a little too close. And most of it is actually just black, so I'm just going to go ahead and color that in lightly. You don't need to press really hard. You can just kind of be gentle with it. Pretend you're petting a cat and you're being really, really gentle. I'm going to color in B4. I'm going to skip ahead now to the end of my coloring. And you should be using a pencil for this project. You should not be using a pen or colored pencils or markers or crayons. You need to be using a pencil. So let's go ahead and find E3. So we have E, the number 3. Bring our fingers down and across until they meet. They touch right here. That is E3. So E3, draw E3. And now I have E3 drawn here. And again, it's going to look very confusing until you're done with the whole thing. But I promise you, once you're finished, it's going to look like this. And you will say, oh my goodness, I drew a Van Gogh painting all by myself. Alright, so go ahead and get started. If you need help, again, drawing this, I want you to go back, rewind, and try to follow instructions. Pause every time so you can catch up. So if I'm drawing each line here and you're not done drawing it, pause, draw it, press play, draw the next line, pause, do the whole thing, press play. So if you have to pause every time I draw something, that's fine. I want yours to look exactly like mine. Your lines should be as straight as you can possibly get them, and they have to be 1 inch apart. This is an inch right here. That's an inch, okay? If they're any bigger or smaller than that, it's not going to work. And if each of them are a different size, it really won't work, okay? So all of them have to be the same size and all of them have to be 1 inch apart. Go ahead and get started.